3, 2, 1, and we are live. Hey friends, Ernie here with the Trader of Futures, also representing PatternCast. What is PatternCast? PatternCast is a company that I run with partners, and it is a trader service. PatternCast is built around a technology, a remarkable technology that is akin to machine learning, pattern recognition, has the ability to analyze literally hundreds of thousands of patterns dynamically across all the futures, all the Forex, all the equities markets in a very, very short period of time, almost instantly. It is so quick. And from that, it can compare decades of data against dynamically generated patterns that we can't see, and then find patterns that are repeatable over these decades of data, and then compare that to today's current environment, and then tell whether or not there is an upcoming scenario that is tradable, and that if that scenario fulfills itself, it would have a very high probability. Well, it doesn't know that it will have a high probability. We have found that there is a high probability when it finds such patterns that if it does fulfill itself, if it does fulfill that scenario, then the pattern will realize itself. And that is way cool. So these aren't the standard patterns that you see in every single website or technical analysis book, although some of them may look like it. They're patterns that we don't even know about. Virtually every time PatternCast finds one of these things, it's unique. The setup is unique. The way it is contrived, what led up to it, the current market conditions, everything is unique. Yet it's able to find similarities across decades of data and then say, hey, this looks a lot like this thing that happened 20, 30, 100 times before, and then every time it did happen, this is the result. And that, again, that is so damn cool. So we have a service where we announce these things, these scans, these what ifs, these scenarios, and actually behind me, what you'll see is last night's scan that shows the futures, the Forex, and the equities, the equity positions that have that PatternCast has found scenarios for. Now, here's the deal. It'll find these scenarios. That doesn't mean that the scenario will fulfill itself. It's kind of a what if. What if this happens, then it will match the pattern, and there's a high likelihood that it could then realize it's what it's done, dozens of times before in the past. Not all the time will it find or it will realize those things. The what if won't come true. Happens about 20 to 35% of the time, depending on market volatility and other conditions that a little complex to sort of analyze and really guess ahead of time. However, sometimes we'll have a list of, say, 5, sometimes we'll have a list of 25, and out of that, on average, about 25% of them will actually hit the target or hit the entry point or will fulfill the what-if scenario, and then it will retrace or break through or whatever PatternCast predicted that it would do. Now, okay, that's cool. When it does hit these, or it does realize, or does trigger, how often does it actually reach the target or the expected move? Well, it either hits or exceeds the expected move, at least in all the trades that we've been doing since doing this service, and actually well beyond that, because we've been this is, literally a decade in development about 3 or 4 years in test, and almost a year in actual service, actual real live service. 65% of those things that trigger either hit or exceed the target. All right, and these are generous targets. I mean, big moves, big moves, big moves. We're not looking for, what some people might say, a 1-to-1 or a 1-to-2 risk to reward. We don't even look at it in that terms. These moves are the kind of moves that you dream about. Big moves. We find where the volatility is in the market, even in non-volatile markets. And that's the crazy thing about it. So it finds big moves regardless of the market. So while some people are concentrating on a particular market with maybe a handful of strategies and hoping that something is going to occur, and a lot of times they'll take liberties with that pattern, or say, "Well, it looks pretty close to it. I think I can mold it in my head and say, yeah, I see a pattern there." And they're guessing. So for that reason, they have to set very tight risk limits. And it's one of the reasons why most traders just don't do well. They're kind of guessing. Well, not kind of. They are guessing. Most technical analysis is a swag, what we would call a scientific, I should say a pseudo wild ass guess. It's not even a scientific wild ass guess, because there's nothing scientific about technical analysis unless there's rigorous statistical analysis put to it. But as we know, most traders are not doing that. But PatternCast is 100% a statistical machine, a machine with pattern recognition capabilities and measuring everything based on statistical probability. And looking at patterns that may or may match up, may or may not match up with what we can perceive or what we have learned as standard patterns. Where you may go into a technical analysis book and find, 10, 20, 100 patterns. A really complex book, like say even the Bukowski might show as many as 300 or 400 patterns. And that's incredible. Now Bukowski is really kind of like on the edge of this type of work, and he does statistical analysis. Most technical analysis books might show a couple dozen patterns. PatternCast has literally an infinite number of patterns. In reality, it's churning through as many as 100,000 patterns in any scan that it finds that are relevant. And so that almost every single signal that is generated from PatternCast is a unique pattern. Why is that so important? That is important because it means that the results from that pattern, even if it's found it over many, many decades, the results from that pattern compared to another pattern, even if it's in the same kind of market environment, they will be non-correlated. So this means that if you have a number of non-correlated strategies running at one time, this is like the bellwether of trading philosophy. This is what hedge funds dream about. This is what they try to achieve with their teams of astrophysicists, to try to find a basket of non-correlated patterns that they can trade, non-correlated strategies that they can trade. And PatternCast does it all by itself. It's like a team of astrophysicists finding opportunities. And why that is so important is because when you have strategies that are uncorrelated with one another, and you have multiple trades going at one time that are in action or have been triggered based on completely different criteria, then their returns, because they're uncorrelated, will have a tendency to hedge one another. So sometimes some are short, some are long, some are breakouts, some are not. They will tend to hedge one another. And when they hedge each other with a positive skew up, then that tends to minimize drawdowns dramatically and relieves you of a lot of the traditional risk management. And so all you really have to do is just concentrate on managing the winners. As almost 96% of all the trades within the time window that we allot PatternCast, it's a 4-day window, end up above the entry point. 96%. 65% hit a very generous target or exceed. And so what is the average trade? What is the average trade? If you took all the trades that trigger, what is their average move? Their average move is greater than 200% of the target. The average. So of those 65% that are hitting the target or above, most of them are hitting 200, 300, 400, 800% of the target. That is remarkable. It is absolutely remarkable. And that is the real benefit of PatternCast. Of those trades that hit 50% of the target, that number is close to 80 to 85%. So 80 to 85% of those trades that are triggered will hit at least 50% of the target, which most traders would just love to be able to get that kind of move out of their trades. And that's the cool thing about PatternCast. So here, we trade a very wide range of assets. Forex, futures, equities. Now the list of equities that we currently scan is relatively small, maybe a couple dozen, but it's a growing list. And that all comes down to the automation that we're building into PatternCast. In order to do that many things, there is a little bit of manual intervention. I mean, there's a lot of programming involved in here. So we're growing that list. So right now we don't have as many equity trades as we do Forex or futures. We do scan all the Forex, all the futures. And that list of equities is growing. So today we have 3 trades in the equity realm, Google, Netflix, and the silver ETF. Now I don't know if any of these things have hit yet today. I haven't checked. I haven't been notified. I don't think they have yet. They've come very close. Some days that's the way it is. It doesn't hit. Now the way we work this is that we provide these signals the day before that market session. So that gives you an opportunity to set up all your notifications, your trade setups, etc. the day before. And then we give it up to the end of that session for those scans to realize or trigger. If they don't, we scrap all those and then we wait for the next set of scans that are good for the next session. If they do trigger, we give them 4 days to meet their mission. 4 days. And all of this is kind of based on the criteria that's given to PatternCast. It's looking at everything in this sort of myopic 4-day window. That's all it sees. Everything happens within that 4 days, and if it happens within that 4 days and it finds a pattern that meets all these different criteria, and it looks like something that is forming in today's market, it'll pop it up. It'll rise to the top. And then we'll see it, and then we'll throw that out to our subscriber base. And we have a Discord channel that we provide live support for the service. So, and when I say live, I mean we are in that room. It's like a trade room. It's a private Discord channel. We also have voice webinar capabilities and webinar, one-on-one sharing screens, the whole deal, all within this live support channel. So all of our customers, all of our subscribers get live support during the trading day. And they're all like-minded traders. They've all, they've come to a refined understanding of how to trade these things. We profess that you should trade small because you're going to have a lot of different trades and then treat any trade like the other. You don't get married to any of them. After the 4 days, you scrap them if they don't hit your target, or even if they're in profitability. Move on to the next one. And it's a remarkable result from that. You don't have to sit there worrying about, well, where am I going to set my stops? For the most part, most people don't set stops, or they set a portfolio stop. So what kind of portfolio do you need to trade PatternCast? Well, particularly with the advent of micro futures contracts that were introduced back on May 10th, or is it May 12th, last month, and with the ability to do micro Forex, and the ability to trade virtually any number of shares that you want in the stock market, you could have an account as small as, say, $4,000 or $5,000, and easily trade these signals and make money. PatternCast, and you might have, there may be some of these trades that obviously cannot trade with a $4,000 or $5,000 account, because the margin requirements for that particular futures contract might be too big if it doesn't have a micro contract. If it has a micro, it's probably okay. One that I can think of in particular, EMD, which is the mid-cap S&P. It doesn't have a micro contract, at least not that I'm aware of. And it has big margin requirements. When we talk about that particular trade or bring it up as a signal, and you have a small account, that's probably one that you're not going to trade. But you'll trade any of the Forex, virtually any of the other futures contracts that have micro contracts with that small account, or any of the stocks. If you have a large account, you can trade anything you want. And I would say that anything $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 and above, you can trade anything that you want. As you start getting to the 50, 100,000, you can start trading multiple contracts. The idea is to not be married to any trade, trade every signal, and treat it as just another cog in the wheel. Put it on. If it reaches its target, try to manage that winner. See if you can manage it above the expected move, because as we said, that will average almost 200% of the target. And you'll get some really big winners, some that may pull back, some that may be just flat. Very, very few losers. As a matter of fact, in out of the past, 200 trades, I think there's been, just a handful, maybe 4 or 5 that have drawn down. That, and that can be expected. And that's because PatternCast has a huge skew towards winners. Huge skew towards winners. So anyways, that is PatternCast. Let's see here. We have some people online. Christopher Rock wants to know, where is everyone at? I haven't done a live session for quite some time, for probably about 2 or 3 weeks. So I'm not surprised that a lot of people haven't shown up. But we'll start doing these on a regular basis. All I says, learn something new here every time I tune in. Always appreciate the experience and wisdom, Coach. Well, you're very welcome, and thank you very much for the kind words. Nordine Aladi wants to know the Bitcoin cap. Here's another question. If PatternCast was for crypto, I would be your #1 client. See, the problem with crypto and PatternCast is that there's simply not enough data. Hasn't been around for enough time, and the data that is around is very unreliable. There are a multitude of unregulated exchanges. And so if we pick one exchange, even that data, very difficult to come up with some sort of statistical basis around it. We could do it. It would be a lot more work. And I think in the future there will be a product for the cryptos. But quite frankly, why? Who cares? There is such unbelievable opportunity in the futures, in terms of leverage, in the Forex and the stocks, that it renders the cryptos irrelevant. So when we are able to add them, we'll add them, but it's not going to really change that formula at all. It's not going to be like, oh my God, now we have huge crypto, we got to move to that. No, because quite frankly, you can make as much or more money with the futures, Forex, and stocks with as much risk, or as, not having to put out a huge amount of your money. Like I said, with the advent of micro contracts, you can now trade with a very, very small account. And that's why most people, I think, are into crypto, because they can trade with a small amount. The problem is that they have these huge spreads. Cool thing about the futures market is that the spreads are very, very tiny. Very tiny. I don't know who that is. But see you later. All right. So perhaps we can take a look at see what trades are out there today, and see if anything has come close. So, for instance, Google, we are looking for a buy at 1046. It still has a ways to go down here, so I don't see that happen. It may not happen today. It might happen, but it doesn't look good. Netflix, a buy at 335. We're getting down there. We're getting close. Needs to drop another 9 points, and then Netflix will be a buy. The silver ETF is a buy at 1365. We're currently at 1384, so it would have to drop another 20 cents, and that would be a buy. So these are the sort of the what ifs, because we found patterns for all of these. The Euro USD Forex is a sell at $1.1366, and it needs to move before it hits there. The Swiss franc is at 99.38, and that would be a breakout at 99.38, and we are currently in a breakout mode on the Swiss franc. All right, so we are up right now. If you were to take that trade, now, like I said, I'm showing you something that most people got yesterday or last night. So currently, 99.38 is the breakout. So we are, and I know that people who are with the service have taken this trade. So Swiss franc is in play right now, and it is currently positive. So there's one trade. Now we can go through all the futures as well. The Canada dollar is a sell at 75.68. Did it ever reach up there? No, it didn't. Came very close. Came up to 75.50 and then dropped. A lot of times you'll see it almost reach, and then it's going in the direction that you want, and you wonder, man, if I had only gotten into that. All right, so we'll go on to the next. The next one is, so I'll just bring this over here so you can see it. The next one is oil, crude oil, a break at 54.05. Well, looks like oil is heading down, down, so there's going to be no breakout in oil today, that's for sure. The ESE Mini is a sell at 29.16. Again, it's not nowhere in play. The Japanese yen is a breakout at 92.97. It's still got a ways to go. So a lot of these, today is a relatively slow day. Only so far, only one thing has hit. Natural gas. Let's see here. NG. Natural gas is a breakout at $2.40.7, and almost reached up there. There's still a good chance that natural gas will come up and break out. And the NASDAQ, a buy at 73.48. And let's look at the NQ. Nope, it hasn't dropped down nearly enough. Now, yesterday, I released a video. Was it yesterday or the day before? A video with a prediction about the NASDAQ. Where is that video? Hold on, let's take a look at that video and let's see what we said. So there was a rare NASDAQ signal that predicts a sharp pullback. And that's this video that's coming up in the background here. So you can go to my channel and check that out. And this is based on a PatternCast scan that we did. It wasn't one of the scans that we put into the service. Every once in a while we do these sort of experimental scans, and there was a pattern that was found. And in this video that you're seeing that's playing behind me, we predicted that there would be a sharp drop. So let's see where the NASDAQ is since we made that call, and that was the day before. All right, you can see that very clearly. Now, where we're predicting it to drop is actually quite a bit more than where it's gone so far. So far, that was a free call that we put out to the public on YouTube. So you can see already it has dropped significantly since we made that call, which was right around here. When we were in the video, it was right around the 7,500 mark. So right now it's dropped about 100 points since making that call. Now we expect it to move quite a bit further down, probably in that 7,300 range. So should it make it down that way, that's going to be a huge winner should you had picked up that. All right, let's get back to the PatternCast calls, and we'll check these out. What's the next one on the docket? NQ. So in fact, the PatternCast call that we have that went out to the service is saying buy at 73.48, which would be the target for the drop that we had called the day before. So isn't that interesting? So according to PatternCast, it had already seen this in its scenario and said that, and had predicted that there may be a possibility that if it gets down to 73.48, that would be a good place to buy. And just keep in mind, I'll sort of recap that yesterday we put out a video that said it looks to us like it's going to drop sharply. And so now it's dropping, and now PatternCast today is saying that if it drops enough, then you pile in. So we have rough rice. I don't have a chart for that. The Swiss franc. Let's see if we can get the Swiss franc up here. Swiss franc is a buy at 1.008. And so the Swiss franc right now is a buy. So now we have two things that are in a buy. Well, and that's interesting because the other one was also the Forex version of the Swiss franc. All right, and that's okay. Sometimes we'll have a buy on. Actually, that's a breakout on the Swiss franc, and this is a buy on the futures contract, and that's not unusual that we have. Sometimes we might have a buy and a sell on, a buy on the futures version and a sell on the Forex. A 10-year note is a buy at 126.39, which if we translate that, that's about 126 and 12/30 seconds. And that's here in the lower right. We have not come down to that mark. And then the last one is the YM. Let's take a look at that. The YM is the Dow. And that's a buy at 25,812. And so we still have a significant ways to go down before it reaches that. Doesn't look like it's good. So the Swiss franc really is both the Forex. One is a breakout, and the other one is a buy. Both are the two calls that have made it through. Man, look at oil! Oil is just dropping like a rock. Now, That's actually pretty good. That's good for our economy. Oil dropping like a rock is like a huge tax break. Hayseed says he went short the Nasdaq yesterday. Awesome. All Eyes wants to know is my personal view on Bitcoin mainly, but the legit projects in crypto for a long term, 2.5 years, changed at all in the last month or so. No, it really hasn't. And I want to be very clear. You know, a lot of people think that I'm this sort of ultimate Bitcoin or crypto bear, and that's I call things the way I see them. And for the longest time, almost a year and a half back, I said that we would be going sideways with an occasional pop-up that would get everybody excited. And I said this. If you go back to my videos, you can check this. And then come back down and still go sideways. So I'm looking at this current move up as one of those pop-ups. I don't believe it's going to be sustainable. In terms of the broader crypto market, I still believe that there are a lot of fraudulent projects out there, and this has been illustrated with, if you just go to the SEC or look at the FBI docket and their caseload, the SEC's rejection of any kind of ETF up to this point, the slow adoption into traditional markets. Yes, Bitcoin and the ecosystem continues to grow, but that hasn't really brought in a lot of new people, and that's what you need. You need more people coming in. For a brief time, the popularity or the trending nature of Bitcoin went up while the price went up, but now it's starting to retract again. So what am I talking about? Let's take a look at Google Trends. And we'll look for the term Bitcoin. And so this is perfectly illustrative of what I'm saying. So right here you can see, that when Bitcoin went up, they had that big surge, and we'll take a look at that surge. Let's go to Bitcoin. So there's no doubt that Bitcoin had a surge. This represents that surge right here. See, you can see the surge. There is the surge. So Bitcoin did surge. Looks like it's consolidating right now. While it's consolidating, here's the interest in Bitcoin. It went up with the surge, and now it's waning again. What this is telling you is that there is no new money coming in. Yes, there was some heightened awareness of this surge, and people got maybe a little excited, and now they're going, That doesn't translate into new people coming into Bitcoin. It simply doesn't. And that's what you need for Bitcoin to have a sustained move up. So that's right. My overall view on Bitcoin has not changed. Gerda Singh, Ernie, what do you think about gold? Well, these days I don't think much about any particular asset. I am a student right now of PatternCast. Why is that? Because PatternCast takes away all the preconceptions and notions and ideas that might I don't know, cloud my judgment, and just look at what are the basic facts. And so what does PatternCast think about gold is probably a better idea. And you know what? that may be something that we'll take up in our next video when we do our PatternCast Market Talk segment. And maybe we'll even do that this afternoon. As a matter of fact, I'll mention that to my partner, and we'll talk about doing a PatternCast market analysis, a market talk on gold and maybe even silver. But let's take a look at where gold is. I'm looking at it from the futures point of view. I'll look at it from a point of view of volumetric analysis. And gold has made a pretty sharp move here in June. But it seems like it has this sort of double top here. There's this huge resistance. If you look at this big volume node, this big volume node right here. All right? That's pretty substantial. If we were to maybe bring in more data, we can see that in a little bit more detail. So now we're looking at all the way back to 2015. We can see that gold is just sort of in this range. Doesn't really want to go anywhere. And it's definitely in the upper end of this range. You can almost look at this as kind of I don't know. Let's take a look at this. Like a triple top, quadruple top, pentuple top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different tops. Keeps on bumping up, and then it's just going back and forth through this range. Anywhere from, I don't know, 1175 to 1370. So about a $200 range that it's just going back and forth. I don't know if that's going to break out or change or whatever. From a long-term point of view, I would be a buyer as it gets down to around the 1200 mark, I guess, or anything below 1300 seems to be a good deal. But right now, little opinion. I mean, we've had many different trades with PatternCast that have all, as far as I know, there hasn't been a single loser gold trade. I mean, is that? Let me see. I don't want to say something that's not true. Let us take a look at the trades, the PatternCast trades with gold. All right, so this is a list of all the trades, by the way. And earlier in this segment, I talked about these averages. Now this is since the beginning of time, the average move. So, and that's since October 1st. But since the beginning of this year, since January 1st, this number is actually closer to 200%. Actually, you can see here in March and April, it was well above that in terms of the average. And so let's take a look at gold. Here's a gold trade right here, where it made 89.91% of the target. I know that we've had a lot of gold signals, but not all of them have triggered. Here's another one right here, where it made 78.4% of the target. Here's another one back in February that made only 24.5% of the target. So gold hasn't been our, most stellar winner, but it's been a winner. Any more gold? No, that's it for now. So gold has been very difficult. Hasn't been a real popular thing on PatternCast, but the three trades that we have had have all been probably averaging about 50 to 70% of the target. And so they've been winners. And that's really the way I want to look at it. Now, gold has been outperforming silver for a long time. If we were to look at the ratio between gold and silver, you would see that gold has been a spectacular outperformer compared to silver. So silver would be really where I'd be looking. All right, let's see. I'm reading the comments here. Are we shorting this Bitcoin Ponzi into the ground yet? Asked Raziel. I would say that right around here is a good shorting opportunity for Bitcoin. The other day, I did call for a breakout of Litecoin, and in fact, it did break out. That was last week. Let's see. LTC, USD, and you can go back to that video, and I think I gave a target of about 145 to 160, and currently we're at 138. It did reach up as high as 143. So that was my call last week. So I'll go back to my my channel, check that out. Let's see, where was that? My channel. Where was that? It was one of these. I forgot which one it was, but it was last week where I talked about it in one of these. It wasn't specifically, it was kind of mentioned in there. All right, let's get back to the talking head. We'll go back to the charts. So anyways, oh, you know what? That was a call that I made in the room. Let's see if I can bring that up. No, I can't find it. Whatever. Anyways. It's not a big point. It's not part of the service anyways. Can't hear you. Audrey says I can't hear you. Am I having that problem with other people? As far as I can tell, according to the output here, it's coming in. It might not be as loud as I've had it in the past, but it is definitely up there. The volume is up there. There, that's more volume. Dude, pay attention to your chat. People are leaving? Why do I care? Ernie, does your PatternCast have any projection for Tesla? I'm looking to load the boat. Tesla is one of the equities, the stocks that we do scan, but we haven't had a trigger or a signal on Tesla for a little while. We have had several trades on Tesla. Let's see. When was the last one that triggered? I don't know that any of them have ever triggered, to tell you the truth. We've had several. Yeah, I don't think we've ever had one trigger. Isn't that so interesting? We have never had a signal, although we've had a few signals on Tesla, we've never had one actually trigger. So you know what that tells me is that because we haven't had that many, even though we've been including it in the mix, I would say that there's not a lot of statistical probability around. It's kind of a sporadic thing. It'd be a swag, a scientific or just a wild. It'd be a wag, a wild ass guess. Oh, when I change the screen, my volume changes. Isn't that interesting? I'll have to fix that. I'm sorry about that. That's because I'm using Open Broadcast System. So let me just change back to the chart and see. The audio input capture seems to be okay. It should be okay. I mean, all right, let's change it back to Talking Heads. And it's the same. Isn't that interesting? All right, I just closed the. I also had a Skype input signal on here, so I closed that. Yeah, it didn't change that time. That's really weird. So All Eyes thinks 150 is a good price to load up on Tesla. I don't know. Tesla is a very, very difficult stock to trade, and I don't put a lot of effort into it. In fact, most assets these days, I don't put a whole lot of effort into trying to guess where it's going. I will use volume profile analysis to confirm the PatternCast, but PatternCast has been so reliable, so unbelievably on the money. By the way, we have a new PatternCast site. I used to promote it directly from my Trader or Futures site. Now it is at PatternCast.com. So please go there to PatternCast.com. Let's see if we can bring that up. PatternCast.com. So here's PatternCast.com. Let's see if I'll, so you can see the whole site here. Oh. Isn't that interesting? So the chart was way too big. There we go. So here's PatternCast.com. Here's our pricing on the PatternCast service. It's $199 a month, $495 quarterly. And yes, we have a lot of lifetime members. And lifetime includes a kind of priority support where people get extra special attention in terms of one-on-one coaching and mentoring and that sort of thing. And nearly or over, I'd say about a third of our monthly subscribers and quarterly subscribers, and even we've had even yearly subscribers that have gone over to becoming lifetime members. That's how much they love the service. And if you want an idea of how much people like the service, go to our testimonials, and you'll see the people right there, all 5-star reviews. So I just put up this this website just last week, so it's relatively sparse, and we'll be improving and making it bigger, but it's specific now to the PatternCast product, where before I was selling PatternCast through Trader or Futures. All right, back to the chat. Let's see. I can't actually say I'm mega long on Bitcoin and the legit projects in crypto personally. Yeah. You know, there's a huge lull in the crypto market right now. There's continued waning interest from the public as a whole. There are a lot of institutions and investors that are investing in some projects. It is taking some time for all those fraudulent projects to just go and die and go away. There's still a huge amount of fraud that's out there. There's even talk about BitConnect making a resurgence. Let's see if the BitConnect site is up. BitConnect.io. All right. Check this out. This is the BitConnect, the old BitConnect site. Now, according to this, BitConnect is coming back. It'll be BitConnect 2.0. Now, if there was anything that was a red flag for Bitcoin and crypto, this would be it. All right? Here it is. In 18 days, 15 hours, and 3 minutes and 53 seconds, BitConnect is going to be back in our lives, at least according to the BitConnect website. BitConnect is coming back. Now, the ultimate in Ponzi fraud schemes is coming back to crypto to try to revitalize. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. They're trying to revitalize crypto. You don't think that this is happening in a vacuum, my friends, do you? Right, Raziel says 2.0 very bullish for the crypto markets. Ha! Chris P says, I thought all behind BitConnect were in prison. Yeah, I don't know. But this is the BitConnect site. Whoever owned the site before still maintained control of it, and now they're saying that BitConnect is coming back. All right? So if you think that crypto, as in general, is on a strong footing with this happening, then you got to screw loose. If that's what you want to, hey, look, if that's what you want to invest in, fine, go for it. I might go to it. I might, when BitConnect was here, I had I did the whole thing. I started off with like $100, and they built it up. I had like, I don't know, $720 worth of value, and then it went away. I figured, what the hell? I'll put $100 in it, and if I can make something out of it, I can. So I've got $100 invested in it. It worked its way up to, I think, $720, and then it went away. So I feel like, it owes me something. So maybe when it comes back, I'll throw another $100 in it. It's like a lottery ticket, but of course you got to get a bunch of people to follow the scam, follow you. I didn't have anybody. That's one of the reasons why mine didn't increase. I just kept on reinvesting what I had. Most people, what they did was that they found people to follow them, and then they would put them under their pyramid, and that's how they made their money. So yes, Audrey, this is for real. This is for real. That is the BitConnect site. Can you imagine the people that had hundreds of thousands of dollars in there, and then it just goes away? Unreal. And this is what you want to put your hard-earned money into. Like I said, put $100 into it, no big deal. But this is a sure sign that crypto is flailing. A sure sign. All right, friends. That's all I want to talk about today. I'm going to come back on here every day, and I'm going to give you trades from our service. We'll talk about those trades, real things, and you'll start seeing the real value of PatternCast. We will and at the same time, we will reflect on crypto a little bit and show you and give you a real world difference between what a real market is like, where you're making money, and then a fake market, or a market that might have some future sometime in the future, way in the future, but is not real right now, and what any sane person, what they should be doing. It'll be a very stark comparison. I'll try to be as fair as I possibly can. All right? So that's all I've got to say. Thank you very much for showing up today. I really appreciate it. And everybody that's been on the chat, please like this video and share it around. Tell other people that the earn is back. Trader of Futures is back with the live show. And we'll take your questions. We'll talk about the markets. We'll talk about any issue that you want concerning these markets or trading or whatever, or even BitConnect. And we'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Take care.